our Around the World segment tonight. With all the stories coming out of the Middle East, it's sometimes hard to separate fact from fiction. So 2 Israeli soldiers are embarking on a tour to speak out about their military service and educate people about their country. With me now from Stand With Us, Carlos and Ellie. Guys, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right, now you both served in the IDF. First of all, tell me about yourselves. What did you do? Carlos, start with you.
So I'm originally from Colombia. I emigrated to Israel. I joined the paratroopers brigade, and I served there for 2 years and 8 months. I was part of a few operations, including CASLED, and it was a great service.
Right, that's a long time, 2 years and 8 months. Thank you for your service. Ali, what about you?
So I'm originally from France, grew up and raised in France, and I moved in Israel in 2010, joined the army in 2011. I was a part of the one of the special unit specialized in the recon and counter-terror, and I served for 3 years. And
right, and now you guys are here in the United States doing this tour, talking about your service, talking about your country. What's your goal with this tour?
You know, unfortunately, on this day, we can hear a lot of lies about Israel and the army. And as two past soldiers who lived the army and the experienced army, it's really important for us to explain to the world what is really to be a part of a moral army who really have really specific rules and really respect each and every human.
Right, right. And some of these lies, Carlos, give me an example of some of these lies that you hear.
We hear a lot of lies about how the IDF treats civilians, and many times in operations we hear about civilian deaths that are caused in the media. We hear they're caused by Israel. So we're here to tell the story and tell people the truth about how terrorist groups such as Hamas use human shields, as it was in operations that I served, and to really show our stories and how we treat civilians in the day-to-day basis.
Right, and give me an example of this, because you're absolutely right. I think the media so often portrays these operations, you know, we'll hear of a terror attack, Palestinian terrorists, you know, attacking Israeli civilians, then the IDF retaliates here, and the next day the story is that the IDF kills civilians, all because, like you said, the Palestinian terrorists are using children even, but Palestinian civilians as shields here. What measures did the IDF go to in order to prevent as many civilian deaths as possible?
They go to extensive measures. In the operation I served, for example, the IDF designates the areas where combat will take place as war zones. Then they send SMS messages and make thousands of phone calls to ensure that all civilians know where to evacuate to. And this actually puts our lives in risk, in danger, because we don't wanna hurt any civilian lives.
Right, and I mean that's noble of you. To be honest, and I'm just going to be blunt here, it's obviously the responsibility of the terrorists then who hold the civilians in that sort of position and not your responsibility. Ali, let me pivot to you for just a second. When you're talking to the American people, you told me right before the show that you talked at a high school, that you've talked at churches. Do you feel that the American people in general understand how fragile daily life is in Israel, that you could be attacked and are attacked at any moment as a civilian in Israel?
To be honest, I am, and we are really surprised by the love and the comprehension that the citizens of the California and the United States giving, and how much they tried to understand our situation. One of my story, I'm talking about one of our decisions that we had to make during the army, and all the time that I'm telling my story, I think that it's try to help the people to understand what we are living as a 18 soldier, 18 maybe 20 years old, which decision you had to take.
Right. Right, and Carlos, let me pivot to you. What is that like? I mean, growing up in Israel, hearing those sirens blare when you're going about your daily life, whether you're going, you know, to the grocery store, whether you're driving to work, whether you're taking your children to the park, what's that like?
Yeah, you're right, and we actually don't see this a lot in in the media, we do suffer from times that we are at war. For example, I was just in during 2014. I was in Ashdod, in a city in the south, and people have to go every couple of minutes. They will have to run to the shelter. They would go so many times every day that even the dogs, even the pets, they knew the sound of the sirens, and they knew to go to the shelter. So it's a suffering that we don't see, and we're not saying Palestinians and other people don't suffer, but we as a society, we do have a suffering too.
And I think if you are talking about Sirens, it's important to understand that for the most of the town in the south of Israel, near to the Gaza Strip, they have less than 2 seconds to run at the bomb shelter. And in Tel Aviv, we have less than 15 seconds to run. And if I can tell you a story, a few years ago, my sister was getting married, and it was during a period where the Hamas, whose terrorist group, was launching a lot of rockets on Israel, on Tel Aviv, and on Jerusalem, and on Haifa, and all the city in Tel Aviv and Israel. And I was in the army. I called my sister to talk with her, and I asked her, so what are you doing? Tonight is your wedding, what are you doing? Are you getting ready? She said, no, actually, I'm in the bomb shelter because there are some rockets falling down on Tel Aviv.
Right, it's so far out of the reality of what we experience here in America to think about our everyday lives like that, or special events like our wedding being disrupted by terror attacks, that you have, 2, 7, 15 seconds to get to the bomb shelter, or you could die here. Guys, we're almost out of time, but I want to give you a chance. What would, if you have one thing, you could distill it down to one thing that you would say to the American people, or one thing that you would say to the world, what would it be?
I really want to say to the people, and not only to the American, but to the people, that I really hope that one day all the money that the Palestinian Authority and the Hamas will save, they use this money not to build terror tunnel, and not to learn to their children how to kill or to stab a Jew, but they will use this money to build school, to build kindergarten to their children, to help them to building a future for their children.
Right, and Carlos, last word here before we go.
What I would tell them is see things for yourself. Don't believe everything you see. If you have a friend, if you have a Jewish friend, you have an Israeli friend, talk to them. Learn for yourself about Israel. Come to Israel. Learn the facts and learn the truth. Because if you see this wonderful country, I think you could change your mind.
Right, and there you go. That's good advice no matter where you come from. Think for yourself, speak for yourself. Carlos